Hey guys, it's Jack, and I'm here with Ken Price. Ken, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, sure. Yeah, nice to meet you. I'm Ken, and I'm the VP of Carrier Sales and Marketing for Canada for Samsung.
Awesome. And we're here today with Ken, obviously, for the Galaxy S5 and a few other of the Gear family. Can you give us a quick rundown of what's new compared to the S4 and S5?
Absolutely. Well, what we try to do is balance the basics and improvement on some of the basic features people look for. So this has a 5.1-inch screen. It's an updated processor that's faster, quad-core. It has an updated battery, so battery life. The camera experience is actually better, 16 megapixel. Has some interesting effects as well that are actually seen more on high-end DSLRs, frankly. The other thing we've tried to do is make this more withstand the elements. So this device is actually IP67 rated, which anybody that's gone looking for a more ruggedized device of any kind of electronics will maybe understand that. It's sort of a better level of water resistance and dust resistance than what you would get in a standard product. Right. And you see that little telltale signs. There's a little door on the bottom where the USB charger goes, for example, that you just sort of flip into. That protects it against water should it be submerged suddenly. And on the back of the actual cover, and of course it's a Samsung, so you can get in there, add memory, get access to the 2800 milliamp battery on the back, but you can also see that there's a seal around the outside to protect the sensitive bits. And there's a sensor actually, so when you put this on, or if you don't put this on correctly, it will notify you to that effect.
Yeah, so a lot of smaller details you guys have looked after.
Absolutely. In addition, it's able to take advantage of the fastest network speeds possible. So this is something that's hard to show, but there's two Wi-Fi antennas built in here that take advantage of the new AC standards that are, super fast Wi-Fi, and we can actually handle more than one channel at once. So something called MIMO, multi-input, multi-output. So I can take advantage of two Wi-Fi channels. We also can take advantage of the latest LTE network standards, Category 4, so up to 150 megabits per second theoretical speed on network, and I can bridge those two things together with this device. So I can hit this download booster, which is kind of a turbocharger, opens up the full highway, so I can take advantage of LTE speeds and Wi-Fi together. So if I'm really in a hurry, got to make the plane, got the movie half downloaded, I hit this download booster and away I go. So anyway, so that's another way in which, basic functionality of the phone has been improved.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys took a lot of input from people who actually had an S4 or previous generations of the Galaxy, and you guys really amped it up for this generation of the phone.
Yes, and one of those things we observed people were doing, in part we started this sort of S-Health app, and we watched as people used that, and they were also downloading apps, so related to tracking diet and exercise, clearly something I need to do more of, but in any case. So diet and exercise becomes something that's of interest, and this is a device that you spend a lot of time with, so it seems like a natural to help you track things, either what you're eating or the exercise you're doing, or to be able to track your heart rate. And in fact, there's a heart rate monitor that's built on the back. So if you launch the S-Health app and you put your finger over it, it will actually take your heart rate. So periodically you can check that out as part of an activity you're doing and to sort of, keep track of that aspect.
So speaking of heart rate monitors, we have some of the Gear lineup here.
That's right.
You want to introduce? Maybe we'll go with the Gear 2 first.
So for those that were familiar with the first Gear, we had a couple of functions that were integrated into the band. This is still a product that if you're interested in replicating more of the phone's experiences, so notifications, S-Voice, media controller, being able to actually now change TV channels. It has an IR blaster. It's one of the improvements. So a lot of the being able to now store actually music files on here, which is an improvement. But you'll see that all of the functionality of the device has moved onto the main section. So I don't have anything in the band, which means the band is a little bit more flexible, comfortable. It also is changeable. So, I think that's a big improvement in terms of the design. So this one actually happens to be the Neo. The difference between the Neo and the Gear 2 is just there's a camera here on the regular Gear 2, and this is the Gear Neo that doesn't have that. But outside of that, all of the functionality is the same. And I'll set that aside for a second. The other, because while we had established kind of a Gear category and we go to the second generation of devices, the new one from a category point of view is called the Gear Fit. And the Gear Fit is clearly more of an athletic-looking band. It is rubberized. It's intended to be worn, again, all day, and it has a different sort of ergonomic feel to it. Notice it has a curved screen, and that's a curved AMOLED screen. And it has functionality that's more of a cross between some of the notification, communication aspects of this device and more of the S-Health emphasis. Both of them do have heart rate monitors on the back, so you can have sort of continuous monitoring of your heart rate during an exercise session, which is one way that we'd imagine the wearables being used. So Gear Fit and Gear Neo and Gear 2 that are now an expanded line of wearable devices from Samsung.
Very nice. And I guess you guys also took feedback on the wearables in terms of having the camera on the strap or the cradle size. I mean, I now see that the cradles are snap-on now.
Yeah, but much easier to sort of place around the device. In fact, if I use this one to demonstrate, it's just a case of the cradle itself just goes around like this, so the USB connector is still there. And this is still something that's outside the device, but I think we've made this a lot less intrusive.
Yeah.
And still trading off, trying to make the core design as efficient as possible without burdening it with the charging mechanism.
I mean, definitely, even with the external chargers, the overall finish is still a lot cleaner. I mean, if you had some sort of port on the side, it would definitely defeat the actual look. I would personally feel. But I really like this design. It's less cumbersome, as we were saying off camera earlier.
Yeah, great.
Normal clamshell. So that almost pretty much wraps it up. I just have one more question.
Sure.
Out of all the different features on the S5 or even in the Gear line, what would be your absolute favorite feature?
Oh, my favorite feature. Wow, that's tough. Well, I mean, actually, one thing I didn't talk about, is that there's a fingerprint scanner that's built in. So I know that using like the tracing and the other techniques. So I do like being able just to swipe down on the screen and then have access to the device. So I'm finding lots of use for that in terms of getting into different apps. But if I were to say more broadly, I'm very encouraged by the S. I think we've got the S-Health thing on the road, and I think the modern smartphone should be able to do more for you than what the previous generation did.
Right.
So as we work on that and introduce this new functionality, I think people will find that really useful.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Ken, for taking the time out your busy schedule and
thank you.
helping us out.
Appreciate it. I'd like to talk to your audience. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Cheers. Okay.